Lance White, a.k.a. the Zany Mystic, interviewed astrologer Timothy Glenn last October and again in January. I am replaying this 2-hour show because it is stunning in the accuracy of what the stars, through Timothy Glenn, were predicting. If you have been following Michael Henry Dunn and myself, Nancy Hopkins, the connections to 5G and the current reality looked at by a very astute astrologer is revealing. We had to play a replay today, and I decided to share a show from the Cosmic Reality Archives with our Radio 5G audience. I consider it a very enlightening and hope-filled message.
You are tuned in to a fireside chat with Zany Mystic. Join us now on another exciting metaphysical journey. Relax, tune in, drop out, and take a seat by the fire as we explore new realms and possibilities. This is Magenta Pixie. You can find me at magentapixie.weebly.com. But now, here is Zany Mystic and guest. Enjoy the show.
Greetings and welcome to a fireside chat with Zany Mystic. I'm your host, Lance White. Tonight, my guest is Timothy Glenn, who returns to do a special show to clarify and enlighten on tomorrow's Pluto-Saturn conjunction on January 12, 2020. Timothy is an author, astrologer, numerologist, and spiritual reader. He came into this life without the veils pulled all the way down, and like many of us, he never fit into the real world. Early years include music, voice, and exposure to astrology. Theatrical training and performance prepared him for a brief stint as a minister. He has done past life regression, sound healing, esoteric astrology, and now does multidimensional soul purpose readings using a number of arcane and known venues such as numerology and tarot. The arcane elements were discovered in a dusty branch of an ancient library studying Pythagorean numerology, which forms the basis of the soul purpose reading. You can find out everything you need to know, including a description of the humorous incarnation process where we didn't get to take the manual with us when we incarnated. This caused Diana Lupi great chagrin, so she wrote ET 101, the instruction manual, which has become an underground book, famous underground book. Timothy's website is www.soulpurposereadings.com, and you'll find a wealth of information there. So, let's welcome Timothy back to the show now. Drum roll, please. Hi, Timothy. How are you?
Oh, I'm enjoying the show.
Yes, it's already started, hasn't it?
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned Diana Lupi's book, ET 101.
Mm-hmm.
It's like top shelf.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
almost every day I chuckle about things that are in that book.
I laugh my ass off. And that's why I'm sitting on bones today.
Yeah.
But
well,
really, it was a fabulous piece of work, and one of a kind, and it will never come again this way. Although she is reviving it, I guess there's kind of a revival of that book, and she's been promoting it in other countries, I guess.
Cool.
So, this conjunction only comes around about every 33 to 38 years and contains major global institutions getting a seismic shakeup. So I guess we could use some clarification on that.
Okay, well, I'd like to expand on that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, these two planets have a synodic cycle that's averages about 35 years or so. But we have not had this conjunction of Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn since the year 1518.
Ah, that's a long time.
That's longer than 30 years.
Oh, yes. And what happened then?
That opened the gateways for the Renaissance.
Oh, you're kidding.
I'm not kidding. Look it up.
Wow, because I have been feeling that we are headed for a renaissance.
Yeah, this is going to be what some people are already calling the Great Awakening.
Oh, my. Well, indeed. And they did awaken. There was a lot of awakening during the Renaissance, and it was a beautiful period of time, wasn't it?
Well, let's
more
just
or less.
Whatever in human history in the Matrix can be beautiful.
Right.
Let's just say it was a lot less ugly than what had gone before.
Right. The snapdragons didn't bite at you.
Yeah. Yeah, so since it's been quite a while, like half a millennium since we had this,
Wow.
we look back then and what we see, yeah, okay, the Renaissance, it really woke people up and did shift things. And that one was not nearly as powerful as the one we're going to experience tomorrow.
Wow. Wow. Do you think it might be inclined to take a form of the Renaissance? Because sometimes they take different directions.
Well, taking this into the context of many other factors, I will put this out there that instead of simply a renaissance, this one opens the gateways for what a lot of us call ascension.
Well, I think a lot of people are feeling that major restructuring is in order.
Well, sure. The old system is going to be systematically dismantled, and transitional systems will be put in place to keep everything from collapsing.
Okay.
And eventually we'll get to the point that we'll just outgrow all this nonsense. We won't need an economy, we won't need governments, we won't need religions, etc.
Yes, I've been thinking that for a long time now.
Yeah, it's all nonsense.
Yeah, and I thought it would happen a lot sooner. But that's okay. I'll forgive them.
Yeah.
The planets for waiting until now.
Yeah, but it's an interesting alignment because we're going to have the Sun, also the major asteroid Ceres, and the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and Mercury, all packed within less than 1 1/3 degrees of Capricorn. So that's going to pack a bit of a punch.
Now, what happens with the asteroid belt? Because that was the remnants of Marduk, wasn't it?
Yeah, it kind of got blown apart.
Right. Whoops.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. We don't know what is going to happen with a lot of these things that are part of our solar system as we've known it. For example, we've talked about this before. What's going to happen with the moon?
Oh, yes. You mean the space station, the eye in the sky?
Right. Are we going to keep the space station? We'll see. Anyway, that's not up for 2020.
Well, the thing is that it is being mined and profitable, and people don't know about it. And there are other things going on there that people don't know about. So because it's an unknown, I suspect it might get known.
Well, that's a big part of Pluto's journey through Capricorn, is bringing things that have been hidden out into the public eye.
Oh, boy. Well, there goes the breakaway civilization. There goes the secret space program. And then, of course, all the other things that we don't know about, or that we know we don't know about. And, in fact, I was reading some articles in places that I didn't expect to see them. They're talking about bringing out robots and all kinds of bizarre things.
Oh, we'll see all kinds of things that the average Earthling will just be shocked by.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're starting today because and in the guise of one more Hadron Collider will be built, and there hasn't been one built in 10 years. Well, when I looked it up, I found out that there are 30,000 Hadron Colliders that exist all over the Earth, and they're called time machines. So you can figure that part out if the person who said that, the guy in the wheelchair with the weird voice, is right. Then he hit the nail on the jackpot, or the jackpot on the nail, or something.
Something like that, yeah. But the average Earthling isn't going to be too concerned with that. They're more concerned with arguing about how to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Oh, of course. That's much more fun.
Yeah, it's coming up. Well, this is the election year in the U.S., so we're going to bicker and argue and hate each other and all that insane stuff.
So that's comic relief.
Yes, exactly. You know, if you have a horse in the race, you're screwed.
Right. That'll be interesting because there was an attempted impeachment, I guess, by the powers that were.
Yeah, and that was, it was a farce from A to Z.
Oh, yes. And what is happening with the royals?
That's another, we could save that one for a different show.
Okay, all right, because that's going to be an ongoing story, I think, for a while.
Yeah, and remember, they are part of the old system.
Yeah, the Anunnaki?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The reptilian Anunnaki.
Yeah, so
now, where are the Dracos from?
Draco.
Aren't there Dracos in this story?
Oh, they're all over the place. The thing is, we've got so many different ETs from so many different star systems and even other galaxies, etc., and even different timelines and so on and so forth.
Oh, you're right.
It's easier to just simplify it and just say, okay, the reptilians. Right. Or, as I would rather put it, the predators.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
because
indeed.
humans have traditionally been their prey.
Yes, we are.
And at this point, the human race can stand up and say, we are no longer your prey.
That's right, and we're not going to pray to you either.
Yeah. But there's all kinds of cool stuff cooking in the skies here.
Corporations?
No, I'm talking about celestial bodies moving around.
I'm sorry, yes. Go ahead.
Doing fun things in the sky.
Oh, yes. What are they doing?
Well, first of all, as we've already been talking about, we have Saturn conjunct Pluto going exact finally, because they've been playing around together in the sky through most of 2019, and the conjunction will go exact tomorrow in Capricorn, again, for the first time in over 500 years.
500 years.
So we're ready for our big renaissance or ascension.
Ah, okay. That's synonymous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is going to be like Renaissance on steroids, so we'll just call it, we'll just call it Ascension. Yeah. Now, a lot of this has to do with Pluto's journey through Capricorn. I've had a series of articles called Global Metamorphosis.
Yes, I remember. Excellent articles.
Right. That started back in 2008 because that's when Pluto did its triple transit across the cusp.
That's right. Yes.
Of Capricorn.
It was a big deal then, too.
It certainly was.
It was like, how many can Pluto do? He's doing them all. Oh, my God.
Okay. Yeah, so at any rate, it's about a 16-year journey through Capricorn. And during this time, it's been gradual undermining of the old system. And now, of course, our friend Saturn has come in there to join Pluto. And this is going to just really start taking down the old system for real. So we're going to see so much stuff in 2020, it's going to be bizarre. But see, we're just talking about Pluto's journey through the sign of Capricorn in the tropical zodiac.
Oh.
In my last article, I had a subheading called A Tale of Two Zodiacs. Because most people don't realize we have two zodiacs.
Oh, yeah, the real and the sidereal?
Well, the sidereal.
Sidereal, okay.
Yeah, the sidereal, which is what they use in Vedic astrology in the East.
Okay.
And over here in the Western world, well, what is predominant for us is what we call the tropical zodiac.
Oh, the tropical, okay.
Right. So we've been watching Pluto's journey through Capricorn in the tropical zodiac.
Okay.
And the two zodiacs have drifted farther and farther apart gradually throughout the many years. Now they're like a little over 24 degrees apart.
Oh.
Okay? So that means as Pluto comes up to 24 degrees and 9 minutes of arc in Capricorn in the tropical zodiac, it will at that time enter Capricorn in the sidereal zodiac. So we will have Pluto in Capricorn in both zodiacs simultaneously.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty intense.
Yes, it is. And so we anticipate all kinds of fun with this one.
Yes. Isn't Pluto the underworld?
Yep.
It stirs things up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, Saturn is kind of like the guy who's in charge of quality control.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
He'll come in with his white lab coat and his clipboard and make all kinds of markings on it, and hand you the paper and say, here are your specifications, make these changes. But Pluto comes in, no white lab coat, no clipboard, wearing steel-toed boots and a hard hat.
Sounds like the Nazis.
Bring in the wrecking balls, or bring in the...
Oh, boy.
bulldozers.
Well, that's good. We like that.
Right. So in other words, it's like urban renewal here. Okay. And Saturn coming in just as he did here helps that process happen without collapsing the entire shebang here.
Uh-huh.
Because the economy is not going to collapse.
So it's kind of a tempering influence.
Yeah.
Not a strict, but a kind of loosely tempering, because he doesn't look like he can be quite as strict as he usually would like to be.
Yeah, well, Saturn can be pretty demanding as far as specifications are concerned. So he's kind of like the engineer who comes in and makes sure that everything is going to make the transition without falling apart. And so, since none of the three outer planets ever simply move from one sign into another, because they scour every single degree of the zodiac.
Okay.
Because they always go over it, come back retrograde, and then cross over it for a third time. So it's always a triple transit from one sign to the other.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So, Pluto will make the triple transit in the sidereal zodiac from Sagittarius into Capricorn in the year 2020.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in fact...
The whole year?
Well, yeah, because Pluto's pretty slow. He's got like a 248 Earth-year orbit.
Wow, good.
Yeah. So it's going to be February 26th of 2020 that Pluto enters this sidereal sign.
Wow.
Yeah.
That should be a significant time, too.
Oh, yeah. And then the end of June comes back over retrograde, back into Sagittarius, and then right at the very end of the year, New Year's Eve, it's going to enter the sidereal sign of Capricorn for the long haul, years and years and years to come.
Years and years and years?
Yes.
How can that be?
Well, if you have a 248 Earth-year orbit, and there are only 12 signs, you're going to be in each sign for a long haul.
So it's going to be really stirring things up.
Yes.
Well, what kind of things do you think it will stir up?
Well...
Anything.
Anything
and everything.
Yes, because, again, Pluto, ruler of the underworld, has that influence that involves everything that's deep, dark, hidden, and secret.
Ooh.
All the things that have been hidden from us.
Wow.
In Capricorn, and in Capricorn in both zodiacs simultaneously, we're going to really start seeing it happen once we get Pluto and Capricorn in both zodiacs simultaneously. Right. Now, it's not going to be until April 23rd of 2023 when Pluto starts doing a quintuple transit.
Oh, no.
Yes, across the cusp from Capricorn into Aquarius in our tropical zodiac here. So from New Year's Eve of 2020 up until that date in 2023, we will have Pluto in Capricorn in both zodiacs simultaneously, uninterrupted for about 2.25 years.
Wow.
Now,
that sounds pretty intense.
Just a bit. And also, in the midst of that, in 2022, we have to remember that the United States will have its Pluto return.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So, we've been run by the corruptocrats for a long time here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the time that the universe just blows the whistle and calls a foul.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah. So
I like the sound of that.
yeah. So that's what's going to be happening. Also, then, again, Pluto will be doing a quintuple transit across that cusp, so it won't completely leave Capricorn here until November 19th of 2024. So it's going to be a long haul here.
Wow.
So
and some people will have a ball with it, and other people might not have such a good time.
Well, the more attachments you have to your old belief systems, the more you're going to struggle with it.
Yeah, on every level.
Oh, my God. People are going to have the illusions shattered.
Oh, geez. Oh,
starting this year. I mean, it's just going to be devastating for a lot of our friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're still stuck in these belief systems.
Oh, and those are the worst things of all to get rid of.
Oh, belief systems. Well, what's the initial of belief system?
LIE.
Well, no, the initials.
Oh, B. S.
Belief system? Yeah.
Right. Duh.
Yeah.
Can you say duh?
Yeah, so this is going to be a wild, wild year. And another thing that's very cool is we don't want to forget we have our friend Uranus in the sign of Taurus, who's going to be for the next few years also giving a nice user-friendly trine. It's an angle of 120 degrees to all that stuff in Capricorn. And Uranus is a resolver.
Okay.
Uranus likes to find things that, seem like, they can't be resolved, and then just quickly resolve them. So that's going to be another really user-friendly thing going on for us.
And Taurus seems to have a kind and wise streak of some sort, and a teaching of wisdom streak.
And very connected to Earth.
Yes, very connected.
Very grounded, yeah.
Very grounded, yes. That's a nice, it can be a very nice sign to be around.
Yeah.
For a Virgo. Anyway.
Yeah. So another really, really fun and cool thing that'll be happening this year is our good friend Uncle Jupiter is in Capricorn now.
Okay.
And is going to go all the way up to 27 degrees, and then we'll come retrograde back to 17 degrees, and then we'll go direct again. So the bulk of the year, we've got Jupiter in Capricorn. And a fun one to watch is that we're going to have Jupiter conjunct Pluto, which will really amplify what Pluto is doing.
Wow.
Big time, yeah. So in the beginning of April, it's going to be Jupiter conjunct Pluto. So up until that time, it'll probably be just, build up. And once you get Jupiter triggering Pluto there on April 5th, it's going to be like, okay. It's going to really start hitting the fan then.
Yeah.
And Jupiter's going to go retrograde then and come back over where Pluto is in the sky, so they're going to be conjunct again.
Oh, my God.
At the very end of June, and then it won't be till November 12th here of 2020 that we have the third and final exact conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto.
Wow. So that's in 2020.
That's 2020.
November 12th. That's interesting that's on the 12th also.
Yeah.
And that's Jupiter. Say that again, would you?
Okay, Jupiter conjunct Pluto.
Oh, yes, okay. Wow.
Yeah, so Jupiter just likes to amp up the energy of anything he touches, so it's...
Well, it has a big family, doesn't it?
Yeah. So whatever Pluto is doing, Jupiter's going to come along and say, hey, let's amp up the energy on this one.
Pump up the volume.
Yeah.
And let's get this party started.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure some will see it as a party, and others will see it as a funeral.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
The more attached you are to the old system, the rougher this is going to be for you.
And who of us doesn't have some attachments somewhere to something old, something borrowed, and something blue?
Yeah.
There are many who have been working on their attachments through various people, individuals, and those who are working on bringing up the dark side and processing it and all of that. Mm-hmm. So, everybody's in a different place with all of this. Some don't know anything about it. And they may have the worst time of it. They may have a fairly decent time of it if they enter it, and just kind of take it as it comes.
Well, yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, we'll see how it works out for folks. And the thing is, people like us will just be in position to help people get a grip.
Right. Starting with ourselves.
Yeah.
Get a grip, Zany, get a grip.
Yeah, and another fun one is that Saturn is really going to be doing some fun stuff. Saturn's going to, this year, enter, let's see, Saturn is currently in Capricorn, of course, conjunct Pluto here, but is going to go up into, what do you call it, Capricorn in the sidereal zodiac as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just, because looking at both zodiacs, the people who have traditionally been like the most accurate in predicting events have been the Vedic astrologers from India.
Oh,
because,
yes.
For the first several centuries, there was never anything in their writings about personality traits or any of that stuff. It was all nothing but how it affects the world. Predicting events. Those are their roots. That's the foundation. And so, and of course, they are just fixated on the sidereal zodiac. So, as I've been looking through this, what I'm seeing is that the prep work and the prep for the teardown has been Pluto's journey through Capricorn in the tropical zodiac, and the real, I mean, like for real with a capital R, shift of the ages occurs with Pluto going through Capricorn in the sidereal zodiac.
Okay, and that was in 2023?
No, well, okay.
Sooner than that.
Okay, now remember, we'll go through this again. Okay. Now, Pluto will enter Capricorn in the sidereal zodiac on February 26th of 2020.
Oh, whoa, okay.
This year.
I got it.
It completes the full triple transit, ending on New Year's Eve.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah, and then for like 2.25 years, it is completely uninterrupted, both zodiacs at the same time.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, that's going to be the real pivot point.
Right there. Okay. After New Year's will be the signal to Happy New Year, and then 2.25 years of, wow, clever.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool. It's like somebody planned it or something. I don't know. It sure looks that way. There's some kind of plan going on. Yeah. So this will be a lot of fun.
Oh, I would think so. Now, how many years does this span altogether, and does it span enough years to completely demolish the old paradigms and the other things that are negative on the planet?
Yeah, there's plenty of time here.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And there's already a big move to work with new forms of exchange, energy exchange, and I think one of those attempts has been the Bitcoin movement, which I don't see as being successful. I don't see it ultimately as being successful because it's too entangled with AI, for one thing. And I mean, that could be a good thing, but I don't think it is. And it's about people getting rich and manipulating funds and secretive transactions, and I just don't think that that's part of a world that I would like to participate in.
Well, the cryptocurrencies will be part of the transitional economy.
Right. And that will be get off the Babylonian dollar.
Well, sure, yeah, the Babylonian money magic.
Money magic, yeah.
Yeah. So we have to remember that, as Proterian says, any world that has any form of an economy is a world steeped in fear.
Yes, yes, absolutely right.
And ultimately, it is consciousness that makes the shift.
Yes, yeah, the Praetorians they've got it. They've got it.
Yeah, so we can look at all these things out there, and if we just actually we could follow the wise words of Tashira Tachi-Ren from back in the 90s. She said, if you would make following your spirit with each breath and each step the mission, and regard everything else as entertainment,
oh yeah,
you could stay in balance.
Yeah, that's a good one. I can see where that could be possible.
Yeah. So we're in the Matrix. It's a movie. It's not worth getting bunged up about stuff.
Oh, yes, I was going to ask you about that. So during all of this, what happens to the 12-dimensional matrix, which affects all of the universes, or, as far as we know, that is overlaid with other galaxies that also have to work within a 12-dimensional matrix of manipulation?
Well, we have an opportunity here. It's a huge window of opportunity to completely transcend what in the Gnostic writings they call the false light universe, that Proterian calls the cosmic matrix. So none of that will be a concern anymore.
So that will go away.
Well, they don't have to go away. They're part of infinity.
Well, if it's not a concern, then
we simply transcend it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and we transcend it by becoming neutral.
Aha, a new neutral word.
Yeah, the neutral aspect of this is significant because we need to remember here that the divine, unconditional, infinite love energy that everybody talks about is a completely neutral force.
Yes, yes.
Because that is the essence of the field in its infinite wholeness. And so it's not dividing itself into plus and minus or light and dark or any of that other silly stuff.
Right.
So,
yes, so it's a movement of us into what is already.
Yes.
And our belief systems tell us that it's the negative and the positive and this and that and the other thing. This is love and this is not love. So moving into neutrality is the actual act of being in the field. Yeah.
So you remember the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi?
Vaguely, yes.
Okay, well, he's the guy who taught the Beatles to meditate, right?
Yeah, of course I remember him. Yes, he was a cool guy. I liked him.
Yeah, the TM movement, etc. Well, he was always talking about transcendental.
Oh, yes.
Right, transcendental.
Also.
Yes, sirree. Now, one thing he used to emphasize is that if you're going to transcend, you cannot use that something like the meditation and so forth as an escape hatch from the matrix. It's like, of course, he didn't use the term matrix, but that's okay.
Yeah.
The illusion, the Maya, right?
Right.
Okay, so in other words, if we're thinking we have to break out of this prison that we're in and we have to escape, etc., what we're doing is feeding more energy into that.
Yes, right. We're making it more real.
Right. And so what we do is become totally neutral toward all of it. And in that, we render all of it irrelevant.
That's brilliant.
Right. And once it's completely irrelevant, you've already transcended.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I like the analogy that, I don't know where I got it over the years, but we're walking up a mountain, and we're leaving the city of, corruption and vice and everything else, and we're just kind of enjoying the beautiful flowers along the way, and at some point you look back and the city is no longer in view. And that's the point at which you've distanced yourself or moved towards something that in which the old is not anymore.
Yeah, and it's not that it's no longer part of infinity.
Right. It's there.
We're just no longer focusing on it.
Right. So by shifting our focus,
yes,
we're literally changing our reality.
Yes, by focusing on what we want instead of what we don't.
Yes, and it doesn't necessarily have to do only with thoughts.
Oh no,
because feelings are the fuel that back it up, I believe. Feelings, and there's the sex center is involved in that. It's a very fast energy. Thinking is probably the least quick of all the processes. Intuition and, all of those unseen things, empathy and psychic abilities and all that, those are pretty fast. But how do you see those coming into play? Do you think people will start to just get it?
Well, yeah, people, of course, always will have choice.
Oh, right. That's right.
Those who want to get it will be able to get it.
That's right.
And others are not quite ready for this, and so they'll probably end up going into the cosmic recycle bin.
Right.
And there's no judgment in that. They've got eternity, and that's a pretty long time.
Right. And some of those things they were doing were probably pretty fun.
Yeah, so let them keep playing their games.
Yeah, right. Okay. That
in fact, back in the 90s, in a channeling session, somebody asked Protarian about, what about these people? and they're obviously not ready to ascend. And so Protarian just said, well, even right here in your own silly little galaxy, there are plenty of planets where those games are still being played and will be played for a while longer. So those souls can reincarnate on those planets and be limited to their heart's discontent.
That's funny. Yes. Well, and then that brings up the other possibility. Another possibility, not the other. But you remember we talked about the Golden Age?
The Golden Cage.
The Golden Cage, yes. And that there would be an attempt to create a larger sandbox than the one we're in already, because we've already outgrown this one pretty much. And so a larger sandbox will be created, and for a while it will seem like it's just really the cat's meow. I mean, there will be abilities, and, they've already prepared us for godlike powers, all of those movies about, superpowers. And, but it'll be longer period of time, but towards some part of it, we'll begin to realize that it has its limitations, and then we'll start to see that not only does it have its limitations, it's run by the same people who ran the last Matrix, and they just simply made the sandbox a little bigger, but they still have you. And so it wasn't such a big blast of Golden Age after all. It might have been Gilded Cage.
Right. That's why we have the new cage movement, setting people up to go into the Golden Cage.
Yes. Well, there's always a Golden Cage movement. I mean, we have old folks' homes. That's where we put them. And then, of course, there are all the diseases that are designed to eliminate us in unpleasant ways.
So as long as we are still giving our power away.
Over to them. And that's the same with death, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all belief systems.
All of it.
Right. The only reason we do stupid things like grow old, get sick, and die is because on a very deep unconscious level, like in the level of primal thought, we are still programmed and accepting the program of, the Matrix.
Yes. And as the Matrix begins to crumble, or show kinks, it certainly isn't going to hold up the whole time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now that'll be interesting because when the Matrix goes through a shift like this, there's always this opportunity that if you're looking, you can see right through the cracks. And see the natural universe for what it really is.
Yes, because we don't now, presently.
Right. which is why the Matrix will be running distraction programs like crazy. And, of course, what are they doing right now? It's all distraction.
That's right. And they may run themselves too thin and allow certain areas to be seen that they don't want to be seen.
Yeah, but also we have so many people awake enough. We know the game.
Yes, absolutely.
And so we are not going to allow them to distract us from our true selves.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, so all in all, it's a fascinating movie out there, and we've got really good seats.
Yes, front row.
Yeah, so pass the popcorn.
And for those who don't like the front row, they can sit in the loges.
Yeah.
Swinging the chairs.
Yeah. And occasionally, we do have people ask, what are some suggestions for what they can do to get ready? And
right.
And with a lot of these people, it's like, turn off that television.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Turn off the corporate propaganda machine and quit allowing them to define your reality for you.
Yes. Well, the Pleiadians have been saying that for decades.
Well, yeah, remember the old book from Barbara Marcinek, the very first one, Bringers
Yes,
of the
it was fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, that was like 1990 or sometime around there. But, so we're talking 30 years ago, and they said just throw the televisions out the window.
That's right. And she even did a Pleiadian channeling at Stanford University, and it was one of the most eye-popping, mind-blowing channelings that I've ever heard. And I thought, how are all those people at Stanford taking this? But it all made sense, and it was one of the things that turned my life around, made me see things differently. And I never saw them back the other way again. It's like one of those puzzles,
Well, yeah. Well, you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
No.
Any more than you could put the toothpaste back in the tube, right?
Right. I've tried one time.
Yeah.
I squirted out too much, and I thought, gee, I'm going to waste it. But some things just got to be.
Yeah. Okay. One thing I wanted to point out here about January 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, it is significant because this big conjunction goes exact, and it's really powerful. However, it's a marker, not an event.
Right. Okay.
And a lot of people, they get fixated on something going exact, and they expect everything to happen, like the whole Renaissance.
Well, like 2012.
Yeah, exactly. December 21st, 2012. It's all going to shift on that day.
It was a marker.
Yes. And it's interesting that we had a temporal marker from an odd source, the Book of Revelation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Back in 2017, there was a pretty big deal about it because there, in the 12th chapter of Revelation, there's an alignment described that does not occur going back 6,000 years in the past or 1,000 years into the future. In those 7,000 years that the researchers looked at, it only occurred one time, and that was on September 23rd of 2017. Now, according to the theological scholars who study the Book of Revelation, that was a marker that would begin what they called the Great Tribulation, which would be a period of 7 years, which would take us up to September of 2024. Yeah.
So the Great Tribulation would end in 2024.
Yeah, toward the end of 2024. Now, remember that we've got our friend Pluto, who's been doing all this work here in the tropical sign of Capricorn, and is going to be working his way into the tropical sign of Aquarius, which is going to really shift it, which means weird people like us will finally become mainstream. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Excuse me.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned earlier that Pluto will make a quintuple transit across that cusp. Yeah.
That's
that's pretty wild.
breathtaking.
Right. And so that the first pass into tropical Aquarius will be April 23rd of 2023, ending that 2.25 years of it being in Capricorn in both zodiacs simultaneously. Okay, then June 11th it comes back, and then January 21st of 2024 comes across again, and then we hit the jackpot because on September 2nd of 2024 it comes back over retrograde just a little bit, and then comes back in direct motion on November 19th of 2024. So Pluto's journey through the tropical sign of Capricorn will be officially finished just a matter of like 3 weeks after, or 3 or 4 weeks after that temporal marker said would be the ending of the Great Tribulation.
Wow.
But for whom would it be a tribulation? Those who are in resistance.
Right.
I mean, if you're open to the shift and ready to do the transformation, the transmutation, this is going to be a great time.
Right, and it would also be those with the greatest, strongest belief systems, I would think.
Well, yeah.
They have a lot to lose because the more you identify with them, the stronger the attachment, and the stronger the attachment, the less ability there is to separate from it.
Yeah. Now, for some of our friends out there who are really, really stuck in their belief systems, there are the witty words of a guy who went by the name of Mark Twain once.
Oh, yeah.
And Mark Twain said it is easier to fool people than it is to convince them they have been fooled.
Right. Well, can you fool people into fooling them that they got fooled?
Well, if they've got those deep attachments to their beliefs.
Oh, right.
Okay, now, for example, in the midst of this political fervor, try to convince these people that their party is just full of it. Okay, for example.
Oh, yeah, that would hurt.
It's like it's beyond a freaking religion with some of these people.
Oh, I know.
And like the climate change hysteria.
I know.
Try to convince them that it's a hoax. Somebody put together a brilliant meme. You remember Rod Serling?
Oh, yeah.
And the Twilight Zone?
I love
always
him.
began the episodes as, imagine if you will, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this was Rod Serling introducing the Twilight Zone. Imagine, if you will, a world in which people believe they could control the temperature of their entire planet by giving money to the United Nations.
Oh, yes. Wow. That's a good one.
Yeah. Such a world does exist.
Which was created to, do this and that.
Yeah.
And what about Antarctica?
Oh, that's going to be wonderful when all this stuff starts really coming out, because that's where a lot of the old technologies.
Right, but which are still running, as I understand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've had such amazing technologies withheld from us here, and finally this stuff will be coming out. But we need to get through this transitional phase first. And we have to do it incrementally so that we don't have everything totally fall apart.
Right. So we're building on solid ground.
Yes.
And there won't be any conspiracy theory BS because it will be built on solid ground and not, or with bricks or whatever. And it won't be built on sand, which would collapse.
Yeah, and it's good to remember that as we have these technologies unveiled, we want to do it incrementally, because what we're talking about is replacing the entire economic system of planet Earth.
Well, I am all for that.
Yes, but if you just introduced all this stuff instantly,
no, I know.
it would all collapse, and then,
and something worse would come along.
Well, you've got total chaos.
That's right, and then you have the people who do very well with cleaning up chaos. Order out of chaos.
Haven't we seen that?
Too long before we've seen it.
Yeah, long history of that? Oh, we can trace it back about 6,000 years, and it starts getting lost in the fog, but it's probably been around longer.
Well, the Latin on the bills that we use goes back a little ways.
Yeah. But those are the games of the old system.
Yeah, exactly. So.
And we'll be very happy to have that old system systematically dismantled.
Now, what is the fifth, pentagon-shaped item on Saturn? Is that an interdimensional portal?
I mean,
or some kind of
the hexagonal?
Hexagonal, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Up at the
pole,
North Pole. Yeah.
Or is that Santa Claus?
I haven't looked into it, and
okay.
And nobody ever asked the Proterians in a channeling session. So maybe
I
somebody
would
can
ask
ask
the
that
question.
Yeah. Okay.
So feel free.
Okay. Next public channeling session will be on January 31st. So we'll have somebody pose the question.
And will you have people attending that from the area?
Yeah.
Well, be sure and advertise that in advance, like maybe tonight,
okay.
so that I might even go.
Okay, cool.
I might be able to attend that.
Yeah. Depending on weather and getting over the hill here.
Well, yes.
It's winter.
Well, it's winter, and I've got some health issues that need to be attended to, and that will require some surgery. So, as that will be, I'll probably be healing in February, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So, hopefully nothing serious. But if it is serious, I hope Sirius helps out.
Yeah, just
and not Siri. She's not very
right.
bright.
Yeah.
But now, also, what about the rings around Saturn? Got ring around the collar?
Yeah. The rings that we can actually see being formed like chemtrails.
Yes.
by cute little craft out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, Proterian commented on that back in the mid-'90s.
Oh.
That once we reach a certain point in our, not just planetary shift, it's the solar system, it's the galaxy, and so on and so forth. It's intergalactic. It's huge.
Yeah.
And we're just part of that massive shift.
Oh, okay.
But once we reach a certain point, Saturn will be able to cast off its rings and go play with Uranus.
Oh, great. That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Because Saturn has had its energies constricted for a long time.
Oh, I'll bet it's really constricted.
Yeah, and it hasn't been a whole lot of fun, which is why Saturn has not been a fun influence for us.
Yeah. Well, he needs to clean out his pipes.
Well, sure. And we know lots of people who would like to make a Saturn dartboard, or a Pluto dartboard for that matter, because their influence insists that we change, that we don't remain stuck.
Well, I like that. I think that's a positive approach, that we don't remain fixed and that we don't get stuck.
Yeah.
And sometimes some people can do that on their own, and some people can do that in schools or esoteric groups. Some people can't do it at all. So,
well, that's okay.
It's helpful to have somebody that can kind of empower us or do a little coaching.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, if we're not open to it, it's not going to happen anyway.
Oh, well, right. That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
all the coach can do is give you some useful hints.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you to do it.
Well, one of the things I like what you said the last time had to do with why bother with the golden age when you can leave entirely and create your own reality anywhere, everywhere, all the time.
Exactly. Yeah,
in multiple places at multiple times.
Well,
I mean, it seemed to be some kind of infinite ability. This sounds like a lot of fun to me.
Well, sure. Yeah. Remember, Proterian has long said, if you are stuck in one embodiment, you are not free.
Right.
If you're stuck on one planet, you are not free. If you're stuck in one galaxy, you are not free. If you're stuck in one dimension, you are not free. If you want to be truly free, then you can manifest as any kind of being in any kind of reality within any space-time continuum or outside of all space-time continua, whatever. This is infinity, and we are infinity.
Now, do they give instructions on how to do that? Besides belief systems.
Actually, okay, for instructions, the instructions are already in us, so to speak.
Oh, right. Yeah. They're all there.
Yeah.
There's nothing missing from us.
Right, and that leads us back around to Proterian's cute little analogy of the young strawberry plants.
How do I become a strawberry?
No, right, well, see, to them, we sound like a bunch of young strawberry plants who are fretting over how to make strawberries.
Right.
You know, we're down here going, oh my God, they expect me to make a strawberry. I don't know how to make a strawberry. Do you know how to make a strawberry? Have you made a strawberry yet? Look at me, I'm all green and leafy and strawberries are red. I don't have any red pigments. Do you know how to get red pigments? I don't know how to make a red pigment. What do I do? Oh my God. Okay, that's what we sound like to them. And it's the simple three-step formula. 1, you're in the earth. 2, you have sunshine. 3, you have water. It's a done deal because that's your design.
Right.
Okay, so our design is that we are simply the infinite. There is only the one infinite energy field, and everything and everybody is the field. So all we have to do is allow ourselves to be what we really are. Which is why they gave us Proterian's all-purpose three-step formula. 1, come from a loving heart. 2, put one foot in front of the other. And 3, walk in faith.
Nice.
Yes, have faith in yourself as the infinite itself. And it's automatic, just like your strawberries will be there. Don't worry about it.
Wow, that's beautiful. And it's almost time to segue off the show, unfortunately, because this has been one of the most enlightening shows that I've had with you, and it could go on for a long time after now. But if there's anything that you'd like to add to what was said tonight, just to kind of put a point on it or just feel complete,
it does feel complete. Yeah, it's, again, if we just look at everything else as entertainment out there.
Well, we can buy lots of popcorn.
That's right.
All righty.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Tim, and you certainly did cover some areas that I never saw in any of the other astrology reports that I was reading as homework. So this is going to be a fun show for people to listen to.
All righty.
All right. Well,
all right.
Thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
All right, you too. Good night, everybody.
Okay, then. The 1-hour show you just heard with Lance White and astrologer Timothy Glenn was done this January in 2020. Last October 2019 they had another show. That's the one you're going to hear now, and I love the way that they talk. Metaphysics, but that's the only way we're going to get out of this, and they even get into that. So thank you very much. On with the show.
You are tuned in to a fireside chat with Zany Mystic. Join us now on another exciting metaphysical journey. Relax, tune in, drop out, and take a seat by the fire as we explore new realms and possibilities. This is Magenta Pixie. You can find me at magentapixie.weebly.com. But now, here is Zany Mystic and guest. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, and welcome to a fireside chat with the Zany Mystic. I'm your host, Lance White. Tonight, my guest is Timothy Glenn. Timothy is an author, astrologer, numerologist, and spiritual reader. He came into this life without the veils pulled all the way down, like many of us. He never fit into the real world. Early years included music, voice, and exposure to astrology. Theatrical training and performance prepared him for a brief stint as a minister. He has done past life regression, sound healing, astrology, and now does multidimensional soul purpose readings. You can find out more on his website at www.soulpurposereadings.com. So let's welcome Timothy back to the show now. Hi, Timothy. How are you?
I'm pretty jazzed.
Oh, good. Well, you sound jazzed.
All right.
I don't hear music in the background, though.
That's all right. It's all in my head.
Oh, okay, good. I'll do some mind reading or some psychic communications then. Oh, there it is.
All right. Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed about the way things are unfolding on planet Earth. It's a real wild show out there.
Ah.
But we are getting closer and closer and closer to the big shift really manifesting.
Aha. Well, what? Tell me more. Tell us more.
Well, you may notice that the political entities are really kind of like off the chart right now.
Uh-huh.
Like they've lost many of them have just lost their minds. It's just incredible.
But I've always thought that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
but they really have now.
But it's becoming obvious even to mainstream. Yeah, even the sleepers are waking up going, "What in the world is wrong with these people?" But the old world power structures have been challenged, and we're going to enjoy the show of watching all of these control grid operations come down. So it's going to be fun. We're coming up to this Pluto and Saturn conjunction in the sky, going exact in January. So the pressure is building. They're both in direct motion now, so Saturn and Pluto are moving up to that point where, in this part of the world where we are, it'll be January 12th when they go bing exact in the sky in the wonderful sign of Capricorn, and that's when the gates fly open, and this is going to be an amusing show.
Aha. So that's a pretty portentous sign at that time, yes, that alignment?
Yes, and I'm glad you used that term. It's a sign, not a massive event.
Aha.
Yeah, see, people expect, it's all going to happen in one day. No. This just throws the gates open, and it'll take years for that game to play out. And meanwhile, we've got this wonderful window of opportunity for those of us who are willing to do this, that we can actually vibrationally separate ourselves from that matrix so it won't have much of any effect on us at all. And some might not even want to watch the movie. Some of us may watch it just for entertainment.
I see. So you don't predict any attempts by any of the New World Order kids to do something totally disruptive, like, throw us into a war or bomb the U.S. or use weather control to destroy the continents or, anything dramatic like that.
Well, they keep trying. And they're not going to go down without a fight.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, that's all they know. So they may get away with things here and there. We'll see. We'll just watch how it plays out. But if we are detached and neutral and focusing more on our spiritual unfoldment and taking advantages of the opportunities that come up energetically for us, then it's like, okay, it's really just like, okay, we have a movie in the DVD player, and that's what we're watching. But the last time we had Pluto in exact conjunction with Saturn in Capricorn was the year 1518.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
and
it doesn't
what happened in
everywhere.
1518?
Well, it went exact just months after this guy named Martin Luther had basically told the Vatican to go shove it. And that was also the time of Henry VIII, and he was in the process there of breaking off from the Vatican and forming the Church of England, and the Vatican had reigned supreme in all those countries for well over a millennium.
Uh-huh.
And they got challenged, and they lost that grip that they had on England and Germany. And, of course, then that's what opened the gates for what is known as the Renaissance.
Oh, yes, that was a wonderful period.
Yeah, so it's like, well, people were waking up. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of Renaissance we have on Earth now.
Yes, but so that will be part and parcel of this particular alignment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be lots of fun.
So the fall of the old paradigms and the rise of, I would say a lot of freedom and creativity and self-expression, maybe?
Yeah, it was really cool the way you caught yourself there. It was like the fall of the old order, and then the rise, and then you stopped yourself. It's not like we're going to have something rise up to take the place of that.
Right.
It's going to be grassroots level.
Right. And that's a much more subtle situation than, movements.
Well, yeah. And, so, it's interesting to watch these people who are involved in all these movements out here.
Uh-huh.
That's they're just getting sucked into, a different matrix game.
Mm-hmm. Now, what will the matrix be up to while all this is happening? Because we know that AI pretty much runs up to the 12th dimension. We talked about that before.
Yeah, and that cosmic artificial intelligence. This is the tricky, sticky part for some people here, and we talked about this before. Is they're going to go into the new God program, the Savior program, whatever form it happens to take, and they're going to go into their golden age, which is really part of the Matrix program.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because, all right, the Matrix, the cosmic Matrix has its God program, and it also has its Lucifer program. It runs them both. And so what happens in a planet like ours is you have this Luciferian type of program running for centuries and centuries, even millennia, and it makes it so screwed up on the planet it looks like nothing but divine intervention could possibly save you. And of course, that's because you've been dumbed down after all these thousands of years of this crap that you actually believe in this. And that's what people do. They believe in this, and it's like, okay, now we click on the God program. Oh, yeah, click on this. Okay, the Savior comes in, and oh, boy, here we go. And everybody goes marching into that larger bird cage, the bigger sandbox to play in.
Oh, yes.
However you would like to analogize that. And there you are in this golden age that sure seems like absolute paradise compared to the pit you've been in. It doesn't take much. And so, and what people don't realize is that door is slowly closing behind them. Mm-hmm. As they have all this magnificent experience in what they think is their new paradise. And yeah, it's a nice golden age, 2,000 or 3,000 years. What are you going to get out of it? Who knows? And it degenerates into a silver age, and on and on and on. Next thing you know, you're right back here. Yeah, so they go into a golden cage. So the new cage movement has been primed for the golden cage.
Yeah, the golden cage. I like that.
Yeah. So
you should write a blog piece about that.
Okay, well, yeah, that's a good idea. In fact, let me write myself a note, because if I don't
take a memo.
If you don't write yourself notes, of course, then you lose the notes. So, yeah, our brains are doing
with that one.
Yeah, our brains are doing funny things these days.
Oh, tell me.
Yeah.
Hilarious things. I mean, all kinds of wacky, zany, mystical things.
Yeah.
What's your experience, and what have you noticed around you?
Lots of not just short-term memory loss, you could call it, or just strange games, but also strange illusions happening. It's like, and I'm glad somebody actually posted this on social media, because you can tend to think you're the only one doing this.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But one example was, somebody asked, have any of the rest of you had the experience of you get a text message or an email or whatever, and you think of your answer, so you've answered it in your mind, and you actually believe you've actually answered it.
Mm-hmm.
And weeks later, days later, weeks later, whatever, you find out you never did answer.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And another fun one is having memories, and so you're just clearly remembering something, and all of a sudden it dawns on you that it has absolutely nothing to do with this reality.
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, we're not even talking past life. We're talking that it's so different, like maybe beyond different timelines or different dimensions or whatever. It's like so different that there's no way to fit it in here, and you have trouble even then holding on to the memory as you wake back up in this one. So, fun stuff.
I was thinking that, one aspect of this shift in the awakening may be waking up to things that we haven't known before or we didn't realize about ourselves mainly, that we haven't been awake or we haven't been aware of certain things. And once you open that Pandora's box, there is quite a bit that we can find that we may not be aware of. And so that can be rather daunting.
Well, yeah, it's called infinity.
Right. Right. So how do you deal with infinity when you've been, locking yourself into a daily routine and, going to your job or doing whatever you do, and, and yet thinking that you're awake, following some New Age ideas or some metaphysical stuff, or maybe meditating and knowing all the right people and reading all the right material and taking all the right classes, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're awake.
No. It might mean you're a little less asleep.
Yeah. Yes, and you're more aware.
Right.
More aware.
Yeah.
But
you're aware that you're awakening.
Right, right, because it is a very spotty process. It's not something where it happens and you have an awakening and you're awake permanently. It has degrees, for one thing.
Sure.
Consciousness has degrees, and it's not permanent until a certain level is reached. So we need each other to remind one another to awaken, because we can easily fall back to sleep.
And also, there are different areas of awakening.
Ah, yes.
You can see people who are totally into they do the meditation and all this wonderful stuff, and so they're awakened in that area, but then they're still out there playing, my political party is the right one and yours is the wrong one, and we're going to fight you on this issue and we're going to fight you on that issue, and blah, 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 blah.
Right, exactly.
Whereas other people have awakened to that, and they say, hey, both those parties are owned and operated by the same financial interests up at the top of that pyramid scheme.
Right. And most people don't believe that.
No, they just don't get it.
They don't get it. It's the ostrich in the sand situation.
Yeah, well, maybe a nice windstorm will come along and blow the sand away.
And they're going to be naked.
But it's not our concern when, how, or whatever else anybody else awakens.
That's right. That's absolutely right. I used to think it was my job to awaken everybody on the planet.
Good luck.
But I gave that one up a long time ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a handful with myself.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, we have that old saying, if you really want to change someone else, change yourself. Yeah. So the genuine awakening is going to be something beyond what most people have even begun to imagine or contemplate, because we're talking about stepping into our creatorship.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago in a Proterian channeling session, somebody was really fixated on this thing of we are nothing but third-dimensional beings. We're fighting our way through the muck and mire of the fourth dimension so we can jump into the fifth dimension and say safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the end all, end all, be all, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and so the question is, what will the fifth dimension be like? And Proletarian said, completely different. Oh, but what will it be like? Completely different. But what will it be like? And it was pointed out, well, that's up to you. Because you get to a certain point and you're stepping into your creatorship, so it's up to you to determine what that fifth dimensional experience is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are the creator.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our friend Anelia has been talking about that lately, too.
Yeah, she's had a lot of good posts out lately.
Yeah, and she talks about how, the fifth dimension is not like some destination, a place you go, and, okay, it's on a road map right here.
Right. You're now entering the fifth dimension.
Right. She says it's a creation, and you are the creator.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Yeah, and are people really ready for that?
Well, honestly, I don't think so.
Well, the way it looks right now, the majority of Earth's population is not anywhere near prepared for that.
No.
And if people out here have had absolutely no deep meditation, dream travel, soul travel, whatever kind of travel, and they've never had any kind of hallucinogenic experience, etc., they're going to have a rough go of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they may be choosing to dumb down and numb out even more and go through the cosmic recycle bin again, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I personally prefer not to do that.
Well, some of us have just done enough of that.
Enough of that, yes. It's been enough. But
yeah, but meanwhile, we can still watch the movie here.
Right.
And enjoy it. And be less and less attached to anything in it. The ultimate play out of this game is we lose all attachment to it. We become totally neutral.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like you don't have a horse in the race, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
We can still have our preferences and tastes and proclivities and so forth, but without attachment.
Right.
But the movie's going to be really interesting.
Because most people are operating from attachment and self-serving interests.
That's for sure. Yeah, so the next few years are going to be a lot of fun. Looking at the big astrology stuff, it's like, okay, this is going to be amusing. Because, we're going to go for a while here with Pluto in Capricorn in both zodiacs simultaneously. Because we do have two zodiacs.
We do,
yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, here in the West, we use what is called the tropical zodiac.
Uh-huh.
And that's based on the relationship between the Earth and the Sun. Now, over in the East, like in India, where they have Vedic astrology, they use what is called the sidereal zodiac.
Right.
They simply follow the constellations. Now, those are two different levels of energy. Both are perfectly valid systems. And the two zodiacs have now drifted a little more than 24 degrees apart. Pretty soon they're going to be a whole sign apart. That'll be kind of fun.
Wow.
Yeah. But at any rate, where we are right now, we're coming up to this point where once we get into, like the year 2022, it's going to be really, really cool happening. Lots of stuff. We're going to get into, like the USA having its Pluto return, while Pluto is in Capricorn in both zodiacs simultaneously.
Wow.
So that's going to be Pluto in Capricorn on steroids. Yeah.
So whatever we experience in 2020, ongoing with this conjunction, we can expect that 2022 will be quite a bit more exaggerated.
Yeah. Let's not forget 2021. That's going to be a fun year, too.
And now what's going on in 2021?
Well, more of the same, only amped up.
So can you kind of give us an overview of when 2020 occurs? Pluto is conjunct with Saturn in Capricorn, and that happens on the 12th?
Yep.
And then how long does that last, and what is the next major dramatic persona in the play.
Okay. Again, it's not like it's just an event.
Ah.
It like opens the gateway
Okay.
for massive shift. So it's like the effects of it are just going to echo on down through the decades and then centuries or whatever, wherever the game is. This is one of those big game changers.
Ah, okay. All right.
Yeah, and so there's going to be lots of stuff going on, and see, the two planets don't have to stay together right in the sky in order for the effects to continue on.
Mm.
It's just going to be one of these things where there's no way to put the genie back in the bottle.
Aha. So, in other words, whatever results come from this opening of the doors or the portals or the dimensions is going to become an ongoing process in our lives.
Yeah, and it's just going to keep building and building and building. And so that will be amusing, but meanwhile, let's not forget that we have our windows of opportunity to shift ourselves spiritually, energetically, on all levels, so that we are not even part of that. Unless we want to visit. See, how about having enough spiritual freedom that we can shift our reality to the point that it has no effect on us, but we can come in and visit and watch the movie.
I like that one.
Yeah. So many people, they hold themselves back out of attachments, and one of the toughest ones is when they have kids.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right, now, you're ready to go on and go into this new earth and this completely different type of existence, and your kids are out there being idiots. And so people want to actually hold themselves back to stay with their kids. Mm-hmm. Which means they're willing to go into the cosmos.
You have the similar situation going on with people that are in a romantic entanglement.
Sure. And tragically, political entanglements.
Oh, yes, of course.
I mean, you name it. Go on down the list. The people are attached to so many things, their religions and whatever else.
Oh, geez. It's a cornucopia.
Yeah. Oh, my.
A veritable smorgasbord of attachments. Buddha would be dumbfounded.
Yeah. But what helps a lot of people is to just even contemplate the possibility that, you could go into this phenomenal new earth, and that's like your launching pad into the infinite. Mm-hmm. But you can still come back here and visit the kids or whoever, still interact with them. And would you be more effective in helping them that way, or by being stuck in the matrix with them?
Well, I know my answer to that question.
Yeah.
But I do understand the difficulty emotionally that people will have, but they don't have to have that, in other words.
Right.
By detaching in advance and practicing now and, being neutral, remaining neutral about just about everything and coming from a neutral place, it would make that moment or those moments much easier to navigate.
That's
I would think.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. So, at any rate, going back a moment when you're asking about 2022, the reason I said 2022 is because that's the year that the United States actually has its Pluto return.
Now, what does that signify?
Okay, now, Pluto, unlike Saturn, does not do remodeling jobs. Okay, we're talking urban renewal.
Oh, wow.
See, like Saturn, you can picture as the guy who's in charge of quality control.
Uh-huh.
He comes in with his white lab coat and his clipboard, and he's making all these curious marks on the paper. He hands you the paper and says, here are your specifications. Make these changes.
Right.
Okay, you have to make them, or Saturn will kick your ass. That's the way it's been here. But Pluto says, forget the clipboard, forget all the specifications, forget the white lab coat. Pluto comes in wearing a hard hat and steel-toed boots.
Ooh.
Right.
Sounds like major heavy construction or deconstruction.
Right. Well, first you do the deconstruction. So
Sure.
It's like bring in the wrecking balls, bring in the bulldozers. It's all coming down. We're going to build something completely different here.
Aha. And Pluto has reign over that process then?
Yep, that's Pluto's territory.
Aha. And does Saturn know this?
Oh, Saturn knows that, yeah.
So basically they're going to have to enact a different script than they've been accustomed to. At least Saturn will.
Yeah, well, what happens there is Saturn helps ease in a new system while Pluto's taking down the old one. That actually ends up giving us a smoother transition. So, and actually, for those who are like out there in the research community and looking behind the curtain, there's that silly old man pulling the levers, and we just ignore him, right?
Right.
But we watch this. We can see the way things are being jostled around in the upper political and economic and military areas. There are entire new systems that are transitional systems that are being put in place and eased into position so that as the old system begins to crumble here and there, we don't have to have total collapse.
Mm-hmm.
That would suck.
But yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What would you guess might happen to the bankers and the corporations and so on and so forth? In other words, the money system that is has been established as an imaginary force in our lives.
Well, the old Babylonian money magic system is simply not going to be here after a while.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, it will be dismantled, and what we'll have is a new transitional economy come in because people aren't quite ready to live without an economy. We're not that evolved here yet.
Mm-hmm.
But once we have our suppressed technologies come out and so forth, I mean, just imagine, okay, let's have replicator technology. If you have replicator technology, you don't need, 90% of the Wall Street portfolio?
Right.
Yeah, So you don't need to tear up planets and dig out materials and all these different resources. You don't need to do any of that.
Right.
So,
and if we had free energy, which has already been developed a long time ago, if that were released, then, and there are many forms of free energy, there isn't just one, but if that were implemented, then there goes the oil, the slippery oil people.
Right, and the nuclear energy.
Oh my God, that horrible form of energy.
Right,
that
and
must have been an
natural
invention
gas.
of the devil.
Right, yeah. So that will all be replaced, and also with the ability then to work with energies. What about the healing processes?
The healing processes.
Like working with plasma energy and different frequency devices.
Oh yes.
Okay. So we would eliminate at first, let's say at least 90% of the pharmaceuticals industry.
Wow, they're going to be kind of disappointed, aren't they?
Just a little bit. What about overall that entire medical industrial complex with its cronies over there in the insurance industry?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's like see, replacing all of that is a little bit sticky and tricky.
Yeah.
Unless you want it to all collapse and go into chaos with people starving and people dying everywhere.
Well, some people wouldn't care because they're so self-centered, but barring that.
Yeah. But see, those beings who are at the top of all those different industries, first of all, they tend not to be human souls. These are the souls of the predatory species that have been preying upon humans for God knows how long.
You mean the Dracos and reptilians
and the Anunnaki and all those fun people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay, so they will be somewhat disappointed. Yeah, and, they're kicking up a fuss now. But the thing is, with the frequency shift that's happening on the planet, they are becoming weaker.
Aha. Okay. That's really important to know.
Yeah. I mean, this is all about a frequency shift. That's really the most important thing. And so for us personally, shifting our frequency is essential.
Right. Because then we're not subject to the control and domination that is the law of the land here.
Yeah, well, it's been the law of the land because we've been deceived, or we've allowed ourselves to be deceived here.
Right.
Because the so-called dark side, which is really just predatory energy, it's predators. We don't call the hawk evil when it sweeps down out of the sky and grabs a little bunny rabbit and rips it to pieces and eats it. Right?
Right.
We just say, that's nature. Okay, well, it's just nature. These are predators, and this is how they feed, and we happen to have been the food.
Yes, we've been a tasty meal for a long time, haven't we?
That's right. And when some of these people, they get, of course, it's natural. They're going to get horrified at the Luciferian child sacrifices, annoy these people who are not really human souls. They're in these hybrid bloodlines and so forth. The way they feed on human children.
Right.
And so I'll usually just throw the question at them. Well, have you ever eaten lamb chops? Come on. Yeah. So, really, if you were going to pan the camera back here and just ask all the souls incarnated as animals and trees and whatever else, all these spirits all over the planet, ask them to grade the paper of humanity. Do you think humans would be like the shining good guys here?
I kind of doubt it.
Really? You don't think we would be the good guys in the movie? Really? Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
The jury's not back on that one.
Yeah, so, the predators, they're going to kick up their fuss and they're fighting, but the thing is, they are losing power on all levels and on all fronts right now.
Well, that's wonderful news.
Yeah, it's to the point that the human souls in those areas, in the industries and in the political realms and in the military and the intelligence agencies and so forth, the human souls, have actually wrested major power away from the old reptilian souls.
Oh boy!
Well, so they're going toe to toe now.
Nice.
And the lizards are losing.
Wonderful.
And they are losing power. So without getting emotionally bunged up about the politics or what the governments are doing when moving military pieces around the playing board, that's not our concern. That's not our game. If we continue shifting our frequency, that's doing more to help than anything else we could ever do out there. You think you're going to pick up a sign and put on stupid clothing and go out in the streets and make a bunch of noise? You're wasting your time and your energy.
Oh, absolutely. That's a total waste of time.
And if you're shifting your frequency, then you are affecting the overall energy field of the planet.
Absolutely.
And as we continue raising the vibration of ourselves, hence the planetary energy field, we are thereby weakening the reptilians and other beings who are the predators.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, because they can't function with their strength in that vibratory realm that we're co-creating at this time.
Well, one of my other guests, a wonderful woman named Judy Carroll, who's written a few books on her experiences with the Greys, positive experiences. They sent a message through her asking that we attempt to communicate with our higher self on a daily basis, that we are at a point that's critical and that it's important for us to attempt to communicate with our higher self on a daily basis and raise our frequency. So, it's not just you saying it or Anelia or, Joe Blow on the corner. This is coming from a multitude of different sources. That it's a critical time for all of us to make choices that support our alignment with the highest frequency.
And stepping into our creatorship happens when we do all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that is being responsible for one's creations.
Well, duh, yeah.
Well, these things take a long time to figure out.
Yeah, and humans have not done all that well in that department.
Right. Well, we'll get better at it.
Yeah, but when we do all of these things, what we're actually doing is coming to the point where we will no longer have the concept of a higher self, because as the human, we will simply be that higher self.
Right.
Because we will be that divine spirit that we truly are, fully manifested as the human.
Mm-hmm.
It just won't be Homo sapiens anymore.
I wonder what it'll be called.
Well, there are different names tossed around. In the scientific realm, they're still using that term Homo superior.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Let's not go there.
Yeah. All right, never mind. I was going to give an example of one of the scientists recently, like rah, Homo superior, here we come. Okay, now, the term I prefer is Homo luminans.
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. Now, you hear Homo galacticus, Homo spiritus, whatever. It doesn't matter what label we put on it. We just want to go to that next level. Now, Homo luminans will be as radically different from Homo sapiens as the butterfly is from the caterpillar.
Huh. Interesting. Well, there'll be a certain segment of the population that won't want to have anything to do with Homo anything.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, from different approaches, there will be those like who have the heavy reptilian influence, and yeah, they don't want the humans to succeed, etc. And then there are other beings who would love to take over this planet and do their thing with it, terraform it to suit themselves. But then you've got some who've had the Homo whatever experience here, who simply want to transcend the whole thing and go elsewhere in the universe.
Right. That sounds like a lot of fun to me.
Yeah, but the thing is, as Proterian keeps saying, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can. Because you can have this magnificent experience as Homo luminans on planet Earth, however that looks to you, and that is your access point to anything in infinity.
But that's not the choice that takes you into the golden age.
The golden cage? No.
The golden cage, yes.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an upgrade of business as usual.
Yeah. Good old business.
So how will people be able to tell the difference between being truly sovereign and free and able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, and this golden cage business, where everything looks golden, gold glitters, and money talks?
Well, yeah. Well, even if they get to the point where they don't have money anymore, they're still in the golden cage.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this thing called awareness, and there are ways that you can test it out. Now, if we find ourselves, not too many years down the road, and we are in what could be a golden age or golden cage, the easiest way to test it is with all these new abilities and all the freedoms and so on and so forth. Well, can you simply walk out of the cage?
Mm-hmm.
If you can just go wherever you want, well, that's not a cage.
Right. So we will be able to develop or have the ability to basically be anywhere and we think of being.
Yeah, the Proterians have said for decades to us is if you're stuck in one embodiment, you are not free.
Right. I totally agree with that one.
Yeah. If you're stuck in one dimension, you are not free.
Mm-hmm.
If you're stuck on one planet, you are not free. If you're stuck in one galaxy, you are not free.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're truly spiritually free and you are the essence of the infinitude fully manifested as the human or whatever you happen to be, then you can go anywhere and manifest yourself as anything. You can be anybody, anything you want.
So that would include any kind of appearance or form, shape-shifting, or if you want to call it that.
Sure.
Yeah, and you would just imagine it, and that you would be that.
Yes, because the body is not the frozen sculpture that the Matrix programs people to believe it is.
Mm-hmm. And that also brings up something about death. It sounds as if, in this scenario that's coming up, that the illusion of death that we have been going through for thousands and hundreds of thousands of years is no longer going to be necessary.
Right. As far as the Proterans are concerned, that's really stupid.
Yes.
That whole death thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they like to chide us, and they say, okay, you come into this life, and it's like 70 years, and you're dead. Then you come back, and 70 years, and you're dead. Then you come back, and 70 years, and you're dead. And you come back, and you live for 84 years, and you're dead. And then you come back and die at age 22 on a battlefield, and then you're dead again. And, it's like,
Yeah.
Okay. So their question is, why don't you just live?
Right. Right.
Right, and if at any point you decide, okay, we're done with this Homo luminans thing on planet Earth, fine. Shift your frequency.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing gluing you to this. And you could come back anytime you wanted, 8 eternities later, whatever. There really are no rules then.
That would certainly be, at least in the beginning, it would be relatively chaotic, I would think. Because if everybody was doing their own thing, there may be somebody around that you recognize, and there may not be.
Well, ultimately, there really is no chaos. No chaos. Because when any form or structure or order is going to go to its next level, at least in this system we've been living in, the energy patterning of the next higher order is always going to be implicate in what we're perceiving as chaos. And, it's just our inability to have a mental concept of the next higher order that makes us freak out, because we're trying to take all this patterning we don't recognize and try to make sense of it in terms of the old limited world.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. And if things are chaotic, well, so what?
Right.
Because at that point, what would it matter?
I guess it wouldn't. And if you didn't care for the chaos or whatever was going on, you would simply twitch your nose, and you'd be out of there.
Click your heels together.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm like so not worried.
And I'm guessing that level of being comes with an automatic, intuitive driving set.
Oh, sure. And of course, we would be totally in tune because we're part of any organic wholeness of any planet or solar system or galaxy or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so, we would not do anything to harm the whole.
Right. So, what happens with people who are harmful and highly negative and geared towards destroying other things that they don't like?
Well, there's such a thing as the cosmic recycle bin.
Okay. And the golden cage.
Yeah. Well, see, those beings couldn't even get into the golden cage.
Aha. So that's going to be even a lower level of recurrence than moving along in the cage.
Yeah. And, some people, they're so accustomed to the old matrix here that they're really challenged in just imagining being able to live in a world like planet Earth as a human when there's absolutely no one on the planet who would even think to interfere with you fulfilling your dreams.
Right.
It's not here. No one would do any harm of any kind. And this is a huge shift because we're shifting out of all the old programming of the Earth matrix, which means we're also transcending the predator-prey relationship.
Yes. Yeah, and leaving leaving the predator relationship behind.
Right.
How might disclosure, the concept of disclosure, play into all of this?
When people are talking about disclosure, usually they're referring to just the extraterrestrial information being made available.
Mm-hmm.
But what all is going to be disclosed in other ways and on other levels? At first, of course, the old control grid is going to want, of course, to control the disclosure. So they will do limited disclosure, and they will always want to try to hijack the narrative.
Yep.
And, we just get to the point that, maybe the people, more people are waking up and realizing, like, when they turn on the television, they're not getting accurate and pertinent information. They're just not.
Right.
And
it's just more obfuscation.
Yeah. I like that word obfuscation because it reminds me of this guy back in Boulder who had a sign in his office hanging on the wall, and it said "eschew obfuscation." Yeah. Yeah. Let us speak plainly.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So there will be a lot of it sounds like there'll be a lot of interesting levels and layers to this, since we're multidimensional. And would part of that process be raising our awareness about our multidimensional aspects?
Sure. Yeah. That's another thing, is we are multidimensional beings.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea here is not that we're moving from one dimension to another. It's we're integrating the dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And most people can't imagine being able to have their conscious awareness in multiple dimensions simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe take a mushroom trip and that'll give you a clue or something. Loosen up here.
But truly, we are in multiple dimensions and in parallel dimensions as well. Isn't that accurate?
Well, sure. Well, actually, we're in infinity.
Infinity, right. So we're everywhere, everything, and nothing.
And all of the above and more.
And more, yeah, exactly. Well, that's as plain as confusion it can be.
I don't find it confusing at all.
No, it's not. It's not really.
Right. It's just, to us, that is what is natural.
Yeah. What's confusing is the duality, because it's so limited and so forced and so hilarious that it's really difficult to be around people who are living in duality.
Yeah, they're not real comfortable energy fields to their being now.
No, I mean, everything is either this or that. It's black or white. Are you a good or are you bad? Are you a Christian or are you a pagan? Are you this or are you that? All that duality, that thought form that has been imposed on us or layered over our thought patterns, has done a big disservice, and I'm looking forward to that disintegrating.
Well, sure. Well, we are simply in the process of transcending the whole thing.
Mm.
And the key to transcendence is that divine neutrality.
Right.
Because when we talk about the divine, unconditional, infinite love, we're talking about a totally neutral force.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is the vibratory essence of the infinitude, of the entire infinite energy field, in its infinite wholeness. The essence of that is what we call divine love, and since it's not even dividing itself into light and dark and other such silly things,
mm-hmm.
it simply has to be nothing but neutral.
Right. And so this is according to what you're saying, the shift that we have all been talking about and thinking about and wondering when it was going to happen and all that. This is coming up. This in 2020. The doors are opening.
Yeah, it's going to be like staring us in the face.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, well, then the next time I have you on the show, if that's in 2020, we should be able to easily engage on that level and about it, if indeed we are, or at least talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, right. And again, it's not like we come to January 12th and it's a massive event and everything shifts on, right there, turns on a dime.
Right.
Yeah, it is a process, but that's the big signal that we are ready to shift in earnest, and the old power grid is coming down, and we are able to liberate ourselves. So we'll have this wonderful window of opportunity there that we will be able to a great degree, shift our frequency beyond the grasp of the old Earth matrix.
Yes, right.
See, that's when we could truly have the experience of being in the world, but not of it.
Mm-hmm. Right. That sounds like a wonderful experience.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh? Yeah. Okay, well, let's get political. We'll vote yes on that. How's that?
Yeah, okay, you got my vote.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun these days because the entertainment out there is just wow. We used to talk about all this shift coming, but really, did we expect it to look the way it's looking now?
No,
I
don't think so.
No, and as some folks say, well, if we can think of it, it's probably wrong. Yeah, if we could say, oh, it'll probably manifest this way.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
and then we're probably wrong, yeah.
Yeah, right. Never mind. Yeah, so it's just going to be a fun ride if we can just go along with it in that state of neutral detachment. But really, again, just focus on shifting our frequency.
Mm-hmm. It seems like there will be a lot of people that will have great difficulty making that shift that are stuck in old patterns and belief systems.
Yeah, bye.
That'll be difficult.
Yeah, bye. See ya.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they are not our concern. We just honor the choices those other beings make.
Right. Yeah, right. Thank you for reminding me. It is not my problem.
Right. Yeah, because those people have their own games. Well, they're God too, if you want to use that term.
Right.
Everything is the field. And not everybody has to do what we think is the cool thing to do right now.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's cool to go into this state of transcendence so that we can ascend, take the quantum leap in evolution, set ourselves totally free in the omniverse. Yeah, I'm jazzed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Yep. That sounds good to me.
Yeah, okay.
I think we figured it out.
All right, we're ready.
We're ready.
Yeah. And meantime, the movie's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
It's going to be extremely amusing to watch.
What kinds of things are you thinking might pop up?
Well, since the old guard will continue resisting, and they are resisting desperately now, they're going to get really, really desperate.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do desperate things, it can be really stupid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see colossal blunders that are going to start revealing the people who are pretending to be the good guys in the movie, and actually they're wearing those black hats.
Well, that should be fun.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, because that's another thing that Pluto in Capricorn does, because Pluto rules everything that's deep, dark, hidden, and secret, and Capricorn involves everything out in the public eye.
Wow.
So this journey of Pluto through Capricorn is bit by bit revealing. It's the apocalypse, the unveiling of
Wow.
that which has been hidden. And it's coming to the point, especially with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction coming up here, we're going to start really getting revelations.
Wow. This is it then.
This is fun.
I agree. I can't wait.
Yeah, and of course we get to the point that the human collective no longer has this no trespassing sign out to beings from other worlds, other dimensions, other planets, or whatever.
Right, thank goodness.
Yeah, and we can start interacting with all these cool beings.
Oh, I can't wait.
Well, we'll have to, I guess. But
Well, a lot of my guests are doing that already and have since birth. So,
well, sure, yeah.
I know that it's possible.
Well, sure. It's just a matter of coming to that point where it can actually move out into the public eye, where nobody out there can deny it anymore.
Oh, I can't wait. That'll be wonderful. What a big relief.
Yeah, that'll be amusing. But at the same time, looking at it from strictly a human level, there are a lot of people who would rather die than admit that their religion was a crock.
Yes.
Etc.
Yes, that's
and
true.
And we've got so many hundreds of millions, maybe billions of just fanatical people who are so lost in a belief system.
Yes.
That it is, predicated by we are the only ones.
Oh yeah, and then they fight with each other about who's the chosen one.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
They're squabbling.
Yeah. So it would behoove us not to join the squabbling going on out there.
Yes,
all
exactly.
The debates and arguments, all the quibbling and so forth. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's all unfolding. It's all okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there are greater forces at work.
Well, I trust that that's true.
Okay. Okay, let's take another approach to it. There are greater forces at work if that's your perspective.
Ah, right.
Remember, your consciousness is the creator.
Right.
So just put yourself on a timeline that takes you to a place where that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Cool.
Well, on that happy note, we're out of time. Literally.
Oh my. Okay. Well, hey, thanks for having me back. This was fun.
that was really a wonderful and extremely valuable amount of information, Tim.
Cool.
I hope that people don't think that I'm making light of it, but we joke around and we have fun with it. But it is truly an amazing period of time, right, that we're in right now.
It certainly is, yeah. And it will help us all if we're a little bit compassionate and understanding and so forth with the people waking up and the people not waking up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And as Proterian says, if we don't adopt forgiveness as an official policy, we're screwed.
Yep. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, thanks for coming back, and keep us posted. We'll have you back soon again, and we'll get another update and talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening. May it be.
Let it